All right, here we go. Back to it now, and I'm going to get my next guest to weigh in on this. Right, this idea that the state of Michigan is taking state land, state forest, bulldozing it, and putting in solar farms because that's the way we make the world a better place. Bulldozing forests so that the little woodland creatures have to go someplace else. This makes sense to the folks? I don't think so, but look, I just work here. But that's the plan. Gregory Wrightstone is geologist, executive director of the CO2 Coalition in Arlington, where it's snowing, I believe. Best-selling author, Very Convenient Warming, How Modest Warming and More CO2 Are Benefiting Humanity. Gregory, nice to have you back on the program.
Yeah, good to be on with you. The Biden administration and the people of Michigan are nuts.
Well,
Apparently,
here's the story. Here's the story. The state of Michigan, 420 acres. This is the start. They're going to bulldoze 420 acres of state forest to put in a solar farm. Really? Kicking out the deer and the turkeys and the mice and the squirrels and all the little woodland creatures and the natural, fauna and flora. That's the way to make the world a greener place. These people are nuts, I think is what you said, and that is absolutely true.
Yeah, apparently we have to destroy the environment to save the environment, to paraphrase. Yeah, and what they're doing too, look at this. How well does solar work in Michigan? It doesn't. I mean, if it's not covered in snow for a month and a half of the year, the sunlight that hits it is at a very low angle too at its peak, and your hours of sunlight are considerably less on a daily basis than they would be in, say, in Arizona or Florida. Now, over a certain latitude, and you're farther north, it just doesn't make sense anywhere if you're in Florida or Arizona. Anyhow, these solar panels, solar generated electricity, are quite a bit more expensive than what we get from coal, natural gas, or even nuclear. So we should rely on reliable, affordable, abundant energy, and that ain't solar and it ain't wind.
No, and you make a great point. Look, in wintertime, it gets gray around here. I don't mind it. Some people do. I like Michigan a lot because I think the other parts of the year are so wonderful that it's worth the sacrifice. But it is a sacrifice. There's no solar panel production of any significance this time of the year. If it's covered in snow or the sun's covered in clouds, they can say, well, we can make solar without, it doesn't matter about clouds. Yes, it does. Of course it does.
Yeah, it does. Of course it does. And we see this. Another example is North Carolina, Southern Virginia, where they're actually cutting down mature forests, just like in Michigan.
Sure.
They're going to put up solar panels. In North Carolina, large swaths of mature forests are being cut down and turned into pellets and shipped to the Drax power plant in the United Kingdom. And they're burning them instead of coal. They're burning these American mature forest pellets to create electricity, and they call it green. How green is that? To cut down forests, and they say, well, they'll grow back. It's renewable. Well, yeah, well, it's going to take 50, 80, 100 years to get those forests back the way they were. So much of what they're doing, we can look forward. January 20th can't get here soon enough. And just on Friday, though, we had the new Senate and U.S. House members were sworn in. We're getting some real common sense brought in the form of Chris Wright, who was nominated to be Secretary of Energy. Without a doubt, the most highly qualified Secretary of Energy anywhere ever. MIT engineering graduate. He was the founder and CEO of Liberty Energy. And I know Chris. He's solid. He believes what you and I believe, that there is no climate crisis, and not only that, but carbon dioxide. They call it the demon molecule. You and I and Chris call it the miracle molecule. So we've got Chris Wright in energy. Lee Zeldin will be.
Isn't CO2 what people call the gas of life, Gregory? I mean, it's the gas of life. turns the forest green and the grass lush. And I mean, where did I not miss that in first grade?
Oh, okay. Yes, and there will be news out of Wyoming today. Stay tuned. We need to talk here later this week. There'll be a bill submitted to the Senate that will pass that declares exactly that CO2 is the miracle molecule. CO2 is not a pollutant. CO2 is beneficial. They're going to pass that, and there will be other states doing the same thing. We're catching. We've got the wind at our backs, Steve. People are waking up, and we'll have common sense people in charge, and need to roll back these daggone regulations. Just on Saturday, Biden is proposing rules to ban natural gas fired water heaters made by Renai that just they're these single use water heaters that just heat the water as you need it. It's the most efficient type, and he's banning them. Why?
So wait, so you're talking about the tankless water heaters?
Tankless water heater, the most popular.
I want one of
brand.
those. I don't have, so it's infinite hot water. I want one of those things.
It works. It works really well. For example, my brother's got a cabin out in the middle of nowhere,
Sure.
Pennsylvania forest, and he's got one. I use it. It doesn't work as well if you've got a very large home and you've got several people using the shower. But the tankless water heaters are the most efficient in appropriate situations. They're wonderful, and he's banning them.
But he's banning them how? By an executive order that can be rejected and gotten rid of, or how's that work?
Apparently, it was just announced Saturday. The details are kind of shaky, but it's through the Department of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, who thankfully will be gone in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And she's been a mess. We've identified over 150 regulations that need to be revoked. And what we've done is you can't just, if EPA's enacted a regulation, 9 months or maybe a year and a half to get rid of it, because you have to go through a 9-month comment period and go through the regulations. But we've been filing here at the CO2 Coalition. We've got a legal strategy that's been promoted by our senior legal advisor, Chuck Weller, and we've been crafting our comments designed to have these things challenged. And we'd like to see some of these get to the Supreme Court so we can argue the science.
Wouldn't that be nice? Get on the record. And I just looked this up. Here's the headline from Fox Business. New Biden water heater ban will drive up energy prices for poor, seniors, and others, according to experts. Right? Of course, it drives the cost up for people that can least afford it. Real quickly, Gregory, I'll give you the last word because we're only 2 weeks away from everything changing. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're regularly, what they're trying to do, it's a regressive taxation scheme. And by that, I mean that it punishes the poorest among us, those on fixed incomes the worst. And that's what their intention is, to drive up energy costs. And that's what they're doing. And energy costs underlie everything else in the economy.
And beat up those that can afford it the least. Well, Gregory Wrightstone, we are 2 weeks away on this January the 6th. Yes, it's January the 6th. 2 weeks away. New sheriff in town, new energy policy, like you said. Chris Wright will be here, and we've got a lot of good things happening. Sir, Happy New Year.
Back at you. Thank you, Steve.
All right, we'll be right back.